Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep, and I mean really deep, into the world of aluminum welding. We're going to look right past the sparks and the quick fixes to get at why defects like cracks and pores actually happen. You'll see it's a story that's written in the metal itself.
Okay, so let's get right into it. When a weld goes bad, what's the first instinct? Tweak the machine, right? Turn up the gas, change the speed. But for so many welders, this just turns into a frustrating, endless loop of trial and error. What if I told you the real fix, the permanent one, isn't about the process at all? It's about the metallurgy. It's about digging down to the root cause hidden deep inside the metal's very DNA.
All right, so to break out of that frustrating cycle, we need to zoom way in. We have to go to the microscopic level, to the exact place and the exact moment where pretty much all of these defects are born.
You see, when a weld cools down, it doesn't just snap from liquid to solid. No, it goes through this really critical state called the mushy zone, and that's the perfect name for it. Just imagine a slushy mix of solid crystals starting to form with liquid metals still flowing around them. This complex, fragile place, this is the battlefield, where the war against defects is either won or lost.
Now here's where it gets really crazy with aluminum. As it freezes, it shrinks by about 6% in volume. To put that in perspective, iron only shrinks by about 2%, so aluminum shrinks 3 times as much. That massive contraction puts an incredible amount of stress on that delicate slushy structure we were just talking about. And all that stress, all that shrinkage, well, it leads us right to our first major defect, porosity. Let's take a look at how these tiny little voids, which can totally ruin a weld's strength, actually get formed. So porosity isn't just, trapped air. It's actually got 2 main culprits working together. First, you have hydrogen gas that was dissolved in the molten metal, and as it cools, it tries to bubble out. And second, remember that 6% shrinkage? Well, that creates tiny gaps that the remaining liquid metal just can't always get to in time to fill them up.
It's really a perfect storm. You've got hydrogen pushing its way out, you've got a pressure drop as the metal shrinks, and you have this maze of solidifying crystals blocking the liquid metal from healing the gaps. All it takes is one tiny little impurity, like an oxide, to act as a seed, and poof, a pore is born.
And this table just shows it so clearly. The alloy's own chemistry is a huge deal. Just look at the difference here. An aluminum-copper alloy, like 2219, is super sensitive. It starts forming pores with just 0.45 milliliters of hydrogen. But then look at an aluminum-magnesium alloy, like 5083. It can handle more than double that amount before you have a problem. See, it's not just the process, it's the material itself. Okay, let's switch gears and move on to a much more dramatic kind of failure. Solidification cracking. You might have heard it called hot cracking or hot tearing. And yep, it's exactly what it sounds like. This is a crack that forms while the metal is still hot and, well, mushy. The solidifying weld is literally being torn apart from the inside out, right when it's at its most fragile. To really get this, let's picture that mushy zone again. It's like this dense forest of tiny, interlocking, tree-like crystals. Those are called dendrites. And the yellow you see here? That's the last little bit of liquid metal flowing like a river through the channels between those solidifying dendrites. Now, as that whole weld cools and shrinks, these incredibly powerful tensile forces, represented by the arrows, start pulling this delicate crystal network apart. And that opens up gaps between the dendrites, creating the perfect opportunity for a crack to form. So here's the bottom line, the crucial point. Solidification cracking is a race against time. It's a battle. On one side, you have that tensile strain ripping everything apart. On the other side, you have the liquid metal trying to rush in and heal those opening gaps. If the strain opens the gaps faster than the liquid can fill them, you lose the race. A crack is basically inevitable. All right, now for something a little more subtle, but honestly just as dangerous, let's talk about its sneaky relative, liquefaction cracking. This is a totally different beast. We're not talking about the weld pool freezing anymore. Liquefaction cracking happens in the solid material right next to the weld. What happens is, certain weak spots along the metal's grain boundaries literally remelt from the heat, even when the rest of the metal around it stays solid. It's wild. So the intense heat from the welding arc creates this area called the heat-affected zone. And right on the edge of the molten weld pool is the most vulnerable part of that zone, the partially melted zone, or PMZ. The temperature here gets just hot enough to melt these super delicate films at the boundaries between the solid grains, and that just dramatically weakens the whole structure.
So let's make sure we're perfectly clear on the difference here. Solidification cracking happens inside the weld as it freezes for the very first time. Liquation cracking happens outside the weld, in the solid material right next to it because it gets too hot and starts to remelt in those weak spots. Two different places, two completely different mechanisms, but they both lead to failure.
So we've diagnosed all these defects at the metallurgical level. Now what? What's the solution? How do we actually apply this knowledge? Well, it means we need a fundamental shift in how we even think about this whole process. It means we have to recognize what this quote is telling us. Welding isn't just a physical process of sticking two pieces of metal together. It's this complex dance between the process, the environment, the design, and most importantly, the alloy's composition. It's not just welding. It is, in effect, microstructure engineering. And this is how we go from being reactive to being proactive. Instead of just fixing defects after they happen, we can actually engineer the weld's microstructure so they never even form in the first place. That means choosing alloys and filler metals that are chemically designed to fight off cracks, controlling exactly how the metal solidifies, and even refining its grain structure to spread out stress more effectively.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. When you understand the metallurgy, the why behind the defects, you transform welding from a game of chance into a predictable science. And this way of thinking isn't just about making better welds. It's about how we define the real technical problems so we can create genuine innovation. It's the difference between simply making a joint and truly engineering one.